All right, everyone, we're back. Happy 3 p.m. We're here for our 3 p.m. session on growth hacking your website with Dustin. Dustin is the founder and CEO of Hive Digital Strategy, and he just has a wealth of experience about improving websites. He's, I believe, a platinum partner with HubSpot, and just an impressive resume, to say the least, for improving digital marketing strategies and digital advertising campaigns. So I'm going to turn it over to Dustin, and at any point, if you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat or comment boxes. We'll be watching for them, and we'll answer them if you have any whenever Dustin wants to. So Dustin, take it away.
Perfect. Well, thanks. I'm excited to be here. So let's dive in. We're going to be talking about growth hacking your website. And there we go. So just a disclaimer. Before we dive into the presentation, I have a self-admitted GIF problem. So there's GIFs throughout. If you hate GIFs or you're upset about the way that I pronounce GIF, this may not be right for you. But I had a lot of fun with this. So there's a GIF on almost every page. And then, before we dive in, I think one thing that every business needs to really consider is your website your best asset? And is it your best salesman? Because for a lot of businesses, the answer is no, or maybe even a hell no, right? Your best asset, meaning it's something that's helping you convert leads. It's helping you close deals. And no disrespect to any salespeople that may be on the call today, but your website really should be your best salesman. Thinking about it, your website never takes a vacation, right? It's never sick. It doesn't work 9 to 5. It's working all the time, and it should be working to help you close deals, right? To produce new business. And if it's not doing that, there's probably an issue. So before I dive into the full presentation and everything, just wanted to give a quick intro to myself. I'm Dustin Brackett. I'm the CEO and founder of Hive Digital Strategy and Buzz On-Demand Marketing. I got my bachelor's degrees from Metro State University of Denver in marketing and management. And in 2014, I started Hive Digital Strategy. It was actually started as Be Social way back then. And the goal was, or the idea behind the business was, we were going to be a social media agency. And almost overnight, it felt like it had to evolve. We had clients asking for more. They wanted websites, they wanted email, they wanted SEO, they wanted all these different things that we weren't really planning on providing. But I guess that's kind of how it goes, especially in the startup world. Anyone watching probably knows that. And so in 2015, we became a HubSpot partner agency. We're now a platinum HubSpot partner agency, like Morgan had mentioned, and really became a full service inbound agency. We work with mostly medium and large to enterprise level businesses or funded startups in the technology, health, and education kind of verticals. And then in 2019, I founded Buzz On-Demand Marketing. And Buzz is focused on the small business or the solopreneurs, right? It's an all online sales and marketing marketplace. And that it really got me back to working with the small business community that really was the original plan with Be Social. And just a few kind of fun facts about myself. So I am a Colorado native. I've been in Colorado basically my entire life, but I have never skied or snowboarded in my life. A lot of people kind of judge me for that, but it is what it is, I guess. I'm not a big snow fan. And I also played 10 years of semi-professional football as a wide receiver and tight end for multiple teams across Colorado. And so here's kind of a quick picture from one of my last seasons. And I had so much fun playing. I played against some really amazing talent, like ex-NFL guys, and even local legends. If you're a CU Buffs fan, Bobby Purify played in that league that I was in. And it was all so much fun until I started to get to the point where it felt like the league was getting younger, but I was getting older. And so my body wasn't really keeping up, and the injuries started to pile up. And fun fact about this image, I actually broke my collarbone on this exact play. It was the first drive of this game, probably the third or fourth play of the whole game. Broke my collarbone and played the rest of the game with a broken collarbone, not realizing it, of course. And after that, it was just kind of downhill. It felt like it was time to move on. So enough about me. Let's talk about the agenda for today. So things that we're going to look at, myths about the traditional website design process, what the traditional website design process looks like today, and kind of what it's looked like for the last 20 plus years, issues with traditional website design, and then we're going to introduce the methodology that we subscribe to. So we're going to introduce growth-driven design and talk about ways that you can create a scalable website, something that grows with your business. But first, why does your business have a website? And we have a lot of fun with this, and like when we get on calls with prospects, we ask this question, and we kind of get this like goofy look of like, what do you mean why? Like, what kind of question is that? We have to have a website, right? We're supposed to. Like, it's expected. But like, what's the actual purpose? Is it just meant to be an online brochure? Is it supposed to be a lead generation tool? Or is it just to sell your products? Or is it to educate? Like, there are a lot of different reasons to have a website, but you have to know that. Like, you have to know what your why is, right? So I want everyone to kind of keep that in mind as we go through this and really think about why are we doing this? What's the point in even having a website? Some myths about web design. So these are some of the comments that we get from new clients or people that have just completed a website or prospects or whatever about their website, and they're myths or misconceptions that kind of make us like face palm a little bit. Like they're comments that are super common but misguided. So the first one, I just finished my website, right? We launched it, it's finished. When in reality, we should be thinking about our website as kind of a living, breathing asset, right? It can't just be, we launched it, so it's done. Because if it's done, there's nothing more that we can do to it. There's nothing more that we can add to it. And that's just not the case. Like, there's no such thing as a finished website, or there at least shouldn't be. How about, I just need an online brochure? So this it feels like it's super common, especially in certain industries where, we just need something, right? Even if it's just one page, like just a little bit of info, we just need something up, just an online brochure. Well, that's just not how it works anymore. Like that doesn't suffice. Your users, your customers, your prospects, they're looking for more. They need an asset. They need content. And so just throwing up an online brochure that doesn't really accomplish anything doesn't work anymore. It needs to be your most valuable asset. It needs to be your best salesman. How about, I know exactly what my website should be. Like, I know everything that should be on that website. I'm the expert. I just know. I know best. I, as the CEO or the marketing manager or the developer or the board, like I know best. In reality, you just don't. Like, and that's not taking a shot at anyone. And that's not saying you don't know your business. It's just saying that you're operating from your gut, or your business is operating from its gut or internal preferences, not from data. And probably my least favorite. I cringe a little bit every time somebody says this, but I don't want to give away too much info, right? I have competitors. I don't need them finding out all my secrets. I just want something up so that visitors will call me. So my website users, they'll pick up the phone and call me, right? In reality, like, consumers and users don't need you like they used to. They don't need your sales team like they used to. What they are doing is their own research. And HubSpot actually did a survey and found that 57% of the sales cycle is done by the time they actually reach out to you. Like, think about that. So over half of your job as a salesperson is done before they ever call you. And so what that means is that they're doing their research. And if you're not the one providing the answers, you're not the one providing the content that they're looking for, then they're going to go somewhere else. And you're going to lose that business, because wherever they are finding those answers, that's where they're going to spend their money. That's who they're going to call. And that goes for so many different things, like frequently asked questions, or details about your process or your team, or opportunities to convert. And yes, pricing. Like, we get the question all the time, like, oh, should I have pricing on my website? And the answer is absolutely yes. Like, for an example, I am a software junkie, right? If there's a cool software and I see it, I have to try it. Whether I actually need it or not, I'm going to try it. But I want to know what the price is, right? Like, all these softwares that have, schedule a demo, or talk to our sales team, or request a quote. I immediately leave those websites, because if my budget, for example, is, $50 a month that I want to spend on this, but you charge $1,000 a month, it doesn't matter how cool it is. I don't have the budget for that. So I'm just wasting my time. And so you have to provide the answers that people are looking for. And if you're worried about your competitors, let's be real about it. If somebody really wants to know something about your business, they want to know how much you charge, they can find that information. There's so much info out there, they're going to find it. So you may as well do yourself a favor, do your business a favor, and give the information that your users are looking for. So the traditional website design process. So this is the way that it's been done for years. I think many businesses and agencies are going to continue doing it this way for a long time, until they can't anymore. But this is what it looks like. And this is not to take a shot at anyone, right? We're not taking a shot at other agencies or other developers or anything like that, because this is the way it's always been. And this is the way that we've done it too. And so, for the first several years of our business, this is how we built websites. And we've fallen into these traps, and we've gone down these roads that we see all the issues. And so just things that come up in the traditional website design process, there's high upfront costs. Like, you're writing a big check. You, as a marketing manager, or whatever your role is, you have to go to that CEO or COO or CFO to get sign off to write that big check. And it's got to be upfront, right? It's a 4 to 8+ month development cycle. So it's going to take you 4 to 8 months, the better part of a year, before you actually get to launch that thing. And then once you do, it's going to stay static for 2 to 5 years, right? It's going to be up there. You maybe make a few changes here and there. You add some blog posts, you change an image, you throw on a video, you change a little content, but you're not making really big changes. You're not making impactful changes. And then once you get to the end of that 2 to 5 years, it's time to start over. You're going to just tear down what you had and rebuild. And then you're going to have to go back to your CEO, COO, CFO, and get approval for that check again. And there's no lead generation strategy. The most impactful way a website can be used is to generate leads. And with a traditional website design, that's typically kind of an afterthought. It's not really at the forefront. And then it's built to the preferences of the owner or the manager or the director, the board, or the developer. It's not really built to the preferences of the user. So let's take a look at the process here, right? This whole cycle. So you're building a website. It's going to take 4 to 8 months plus to build. Okay, you're going to write that $15,000 to $80,000 check for the cost of the website. And then it's only going to last you 31 months. The average lifespan of a website is only 2 years and 7 months. So in thinking about the cycle, right? So it's going to take you 4 to 8 months to build it. You're going to write a big check, right? $15,000 to $80,000 plus, depending on your industry, size, things like that. It could be even more. then it's only going to last for 2 years and 7 months, and then you restart. Then you go back into that 4 to 8 months, write another big check to only have a website last less than 3 years. And so it's just it's this vicious cycle that we've got to get out of, right? And every time I kind of talk about this, people start to look at it like from an agency perspective, like, well, isn't that great for you, right, Dustin? Like, isn't that something that you want? Like, you want that recurring business, because in this model, every 3 years I have a new big project, right? But the problem with that is that we're not doing anything. We may build a phenomenal website, but we're not actually helping our clients reach their goals. We're just building an online version of their business. So here's what that timeline kind of looks like. And we're looking at impact over time. And so we build a new website, sits mostly static for 2 years and 7 months. Then we start to rebuild and launch that next website. And then we do that again and again and again. And so website number 2 and website number 3, like, they're better than their predecessor. But look, you have to wait over 3 years before you're taking that step up, before you're getting to that next step in user experience or effectiveness of your website. Like, that's a long time. A lot changes in 3 years. So what are some other issues that we've seen with traditional website design? Thinking about who the website's built for. Again, like, are we building this website for the owner, the CEO, the board of directors, the developer, or are we building for our prospects and users and customers? Because the director, the CEO, the board of directors, the developer, those people aren't spending money with you, right? Those aren't your customers. That's not your audience. Your audience are your users, your customers, the people that are going to write checks to you. Limited or no new content. So like I said, most websites are up for 2 years and 7 months without much new content, right? Like, yeah, maybe you're blogging, and we talk a lot about blogging on our own blog or our podcast, things like that. Like, we're big proponents of blogging, but that's great content. That can attract people to you, and that can provide valuable insights and research, but you're not actually impacting your website. You're not impacting your user experience. You're not providing the experience that your customers actually need. Late delivery and over budget. So if you've ever been through a website design project or a rebuild or anything like that, you probably just cringed or just shook your head, because this is just so common. Like, it's the way it is, because with the traditional website design process, we don't want to launch a website until it's perfect, right? Well, perfect doesn't exist. And so we go through so many rounds of revisions until it gets to the point where clients are like, okay, it's good enough, right? And so there's all these extra revisions, which delays things, and then the delivery is late. And so you may have had a quote from an agency or a developer or whatever that was for a new website in 4 months, and it's $15,000. But all of a sudden it's turned into 6 months and $25,000, or 8 months and $50,000. It is just how it works, because we are so tied to this idea that our website's got to be perfect. And then it's not data driven. So we all have our preferences, right? Like, you may be looking at my slide deck and thinking, God, this is ugly. But our preferences don't actually determine value, right? It doesn't determine impact. And so when we're using data to guide our decisions on our website, we're building a better website. We're building a website that people want to come to, that people want to return to, and people want to engage with. So how do we fix this, right? Like Popeye here, like, we have issues, we have leaks, and if we don't solve this, we're all going to drown. So now let's introduce growth-driven design. So growth-driven design is the methodology of website design that we subscribe to. So it's a smarter approach to web design, and it eliminates all those common headaches, the ones that we just went through, and drives optimal performance based on real data. our focus is the data, not our gut. And so let's look at some of the benefits of growth-driven design. So we're spreading out the costs. So instead of going to your CEO or your COO or your CFO and saying, hey, I need a $50,000 check, I need an $80,000 check for this new website, we're going to spread that out. We're able to say, okay, yeah, we're going to build a new website, but we're going to get a website up quickly, and then we're going to continue to improve it. So our investment gets spread out over the long term, not some huge check up front. A 2-month development of a Launchpad website. So like we talked about before, the traditional website is built in 4 to 8 months. So we're taking the low end of that and cutting it in half. We have to get a new website up, right? In our Launchpad website, we're eliminating the idea, we're killing that idea of the perfect website because it doesn't exist. And we understand that now, right? We understand that, yes, we're going to launch a website that's better than our current website, but it's not going to be perfect, but it can't be. But we're going to continue to make it better. And so that's where we get into the improvement month over month. Continuous improvement is kind of the backbone of growth-driven design. Like we're not building a website, throwing it up there and saying it's done or it's finished. We're continuing to build a better website because we're adding to it and we're updating it based on our users' preferences because it's user-focused. If we're focusing on our users, our prospects, our customers, we're able to produce a better product. We're able to produce a website that converts, that creates leads, that closes business. And then we get better data. We see how people are using the website. We see what pages they're going to, where they're clicking, where their mouse is going. And it's scalable. So, we think, just thinking forward, right? 10 years from now, it's 2030. And that feels really weird to say, but 2030. By the time we get to 2030, are we on our 4th or 5th iteration of our website? We wrote a check for $15,000 to $80,000 4 or 5 times between now and then? Or is our website just better? Have we just continued to make the website incrementally better every single month for the next 10 years? And then what kind of website do we have in 2030? And then better conversion performance. Like I mentioned before, your website is a lead generation engine. So if we're using it that way, and we're focused that way, we can produce more leads. Your marketing team looks better. Your sales team loves their marketing team because they're producing leads all the time, right? So here's that same graph, impact over time, right? So we have the traditional website design. We have that 2 years, 7 months, the rebuild, new website. 2 years, 7 months, rebuild, new website. But with growth-driven design, we're taking a staircase, right? We have these smaller steps every single month that we're improving the website. So by the time we get to that, 3 years out, our website's significantly better than what we could have built at that time because we've been tracking data and we've been making changes based on it. So building a scalable website. Every startup, every business wants their assets to grow with them because if you outgrow them, there's expense, right? There's lost time. So it has to start with strategy. And I think this is one area that for some reason, traditional website design is just missing or lacking. And so, I think it all starts with setting smart goals. And so we're looking at goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. And so we're taking the time to treat our website like what it is. It's our best asset. It's not just our best sales asset or our best marketing asset. It's our best asset overall. And so if we're setting goals for that asset, and we're saying, okay, with this website, we want to increase our new website visitors by X, or we want to improve our Alexa ranking to sub 1 million, sub 500,000. Like we have to know those things. We have to set those goals. Otherwise, it just sits, right? And we're reviewing user behavior. We're seeing how our users are actually interacting with our website so that we can make it easier for them, so they can find what they're looking for faster. We're interviewing customers. We're asking them those questions. What are you trying to get out of our website? What do you need? How can we answer your questions? How can we be more helpful? And then we create a list of must-haves. And this is tough, right? If we're talking about building a website in 2 months, you can't implement everything. And if you do have that desire to implement every little thing that you can think of, you're probably making missteps, right? Like you're probably delivering on things that have no impact or that your users just don't care about. So in this strategy process, you have to create your list of must-haves versus nice-to-haves. And those nice-to-haves need to come in future iterations. We need to focus initially for that Launchpad website on those must-haves. So then we get to the Launchpad website. And again, it's not perfect because there's no such thing as the perfect website. What our focus is instead is building a website that's better than what we have today. We've added some additional features, some extra content, some new modules that our users need, but it's not perfect. But that's okay. And what's great about that is that we're getting this up and we're getting it up quickly, 60-day launch, because we need to collect that data. Because once we start collecting that data, then we can start making a better website. And it's not based, at that point, it's not based on gut anymore. It's not based on the CEO's preference. It's based on, hey, this is what our users actually want, and our data is telling us that. Data doesn't lie. And then we get to the backbone of everything, and really the fun part, right? The continuous improvement. And this is where this doesn't exist in traditional website design. And what we're looking at here is that are those monthly changes to the website that are going to be impactful, that are going to help our target personas get to where they want to be and where we want them to be. And we're going to use heat mapping. And if you don't know what heat mapping is, it's through a software, and you can see aggregate data about how far your users are scrolling on each page. And so just thinking about it, if you have a CTA or a form, or maybe a module like your pricing that you want your users to see and your users are looking for, but you see through heat mapping that only 20% of all visitors to that page are actually scrolling that far, like there's a missed opportunity, right? You only have a fifth of that page's traffic actually getting to what they need to see. And so that it can inform placement and all kinds of things to create a better website. And then you're going to make and test educated hypotheses. And so it's all based around using your data and your user's preference to say, okay, well, if we make these changes, here's our expected impact. And it's not always going to be right. And that's one thing that, again, we're not perfect. We're going to make these educated hypotheses, and then we have to test them. And they're not always going to be right. Some are going to be okay. Some are going to be great. And some are going to have that huge impact that we're looking for. But if you're not testing and trying these new things, you can't create a better website. So let's look at a timeline now. Okay. On the left, we have the traditional website design model that's been done for the last 20+ years, that Hive has done for several years, and on the right, growth-driven design. So today you decide, okay, our business needs a new website, right? We're going to start the web design process today. Now fast forward to September, okay? At best, at very best, your traditional website design is half complete. And that's probably pretty aggressive, right? But maybe for the sake of argument, your designer, he or she is Superman, and they're half complete with the website. It's still only half done, right? You're still using the old website. Nothing's really changed. On the growth-driven design side, your Launchpad website is live. You have a new website up, and you can start tracking data. You have analytics that you can actually use starting in September. Now the next month, so we're in October. Your traditional website is still not launched. You're still using the old website. Your lead generation hasn't improved. Nothing's really changed. You just have developers working on the back end. Nobody's really seeing it. They're still working on it. In October, for growth-driven design, you've implemented your first changes, right? Your website's already better than when you launched it. Now we're going to fast forward to January 2021. Hopefully by this time, COVID's not a thing anymore, or at least it's under control. We're not in quarantine anymore, but I guess we can only hope for that right now. But traditional website design, your website finally launches. Okay, this 6 months from now, right in the middle of that 4 to 8 month typical development cycle. Maybe it launched a couple months earlier, maybe it's a couple months later, but we'll just say, hey, it launched January 2021. For growth-driven design, we've had 4 months to improve on what we actually launched. So our website in January 2021 on this side is so much better. It's significantly better than when we launched it in September. And we have so much data to use to make it better. So then we're going to look all the way forward to August 2023. It's not that far away, right? Like we're looking, that's 2 years and 7 months, okay? 2 years and 7 months from when the traditional website design was launched. Through that, for the traditional website design, it's basically been unchanged. Like maybe you've changed a few things here and there, image, video, you've been blogging, things like that, hopefully. But in general, it's basically the same website that you launched. For growth-driven design, you've been improving it month over month. So it's significantly better. And once we get to August 2023, your traditional website design, it's outdated. It's time to restart, tear that thing down, write another big check, go through all that heartache again. For growth-driven design, there's no need to do that because you've been working every single month to make a better website. So that website in August 2023, this growth-driven design, there's no need to tear it down. There's no need or any reason to build a new website because it's already great and it's continuing to get better. So tools. I'm a software junkie. I think I mentioned that before. And so if there's a cool tool, I want to try it. But here are some that I think every business should use or at least consider in order to execute on growth-driven design. So heat mapping. Hotjar is our preferred tool. It has so many different things from actual heat mapping to click tracking to mouse tracking to surveys, things like that. It's inexpensive. They do have a free version, doesn't give you a lot, but it's pretty inexpensive. Lucky Orange is another option, similar kind of software. And then analytics, like you have to have that data, right? Google Analytics is a free tool. There's no reason any website shouldn't have Google Analytics. But there is a lot of data there and it can be overwhelming, right? There's data in there that you don't need that may just cloud your judgment. So, take a course, learn about Google Analytics, figure out how to pull the data that you need. It makes a world of difference. And then other ones like HubSpot and DataBox, there's a million of them out there. Like there's so much data at our fingertips, use it. And then CMS, content management systems. So there aren't many websites anymore that are just completely hard-coded. It's unnecessary. And thinking about it, like the people that use your website the most, the people that need your website the most are your sales and marketing team. And those people typically don't read or write code. And so they can't go in and edit things. They can't make changes. And if your website's completely hard-coded, like making those incremental changes every month becomes a much bigger task, much harder to do. So some of the CMS options that we prefer, WordPress. About a third of all websites in the world are built on WordPress. And the HubSpot CMS. So we actually just migrated our website over to the HubSpot CMS, built a new website there for Hive, and we love it. They've made a lot of significant changes to their CMS. It's much more powerful than it used to be. And other resources. So your sales team and your marketing team, like they're on the front lines, right? Like they're seeing these questions. They're seeing what your users need. Use them. Get them involved in this process. Because if we're all working in silos, it doesn't do anyone any good. You can't make those changes. And the hardest one is user feedback, because it really is a gut check, right? Like what we're looking at here is asking, hey, did those changes we made, those incremental changes, those hypotheses that we came up with, did they work? Were they right? Did you like them? And if it's not always going to be a yes, right? We're going to get that feedback that, no, that sucked. But we need that. We need that information so that we can continue to be better. And the continuous improvement process. So going through this process, you need to review your data and your heat maps. Like before you're making decisions, look at your data, figure out what it's telling you and what that data means to your business and to your user. Identify your target personas. Who are you making the change for? Because every change is going to be focused on somebody specific, or it should be. It can't just be a change for the sake of making a change, because that doesn't do anyone any good. Develop hypotheses and bucket them into groups based on their expected impact. So you're going to have a lot of ideas, right? The data is going to tell you to do a bunch of different things, but you need to figure out, okay, if I make this change, what's the best case scenario? What's the impact that we're expecting to have? And then we need to rank them, because we can't make all these changes. We can't make every change that we think of. So let's bucket them. And let's say, okay, these are our highest perceived impact changes. Let's execute on those first and parking lot the rest. And then implement and test. So it's a implement, test, retest, and implement, right? That's the process that you need. And that's with everything. Like, I think we've all heard that before. So how do we review our data? Things that are important to consider here are, where do you stand on your goals, right? You set, in that strategy phase, you set your SMART goals. Where are you with them? Are you surpassing them? Are you meeting them? Are you falling short? Like, and why? Some of the goals that you may have set are around new website visitors. So are we getting new people to the website? Because if it's our team coming to the website, we don't have good data, right? We need to track how many new visitors we have coming to our website each month. How many website sessions are we having? And it can't be something as simple or in a vacuum, like, oh, we had 10,000 visitors to our website this month. That's cool. Like that doesn't tell us anything. Is that good? Because if I told Apple, hey, you had 10,000 website visitors this month, somebody's getting fired, right? But if I told a mom and pop shop, you had 10,000 visitors, they're like through the moon, they're popping champagne. It needs to be a trend. Like, we need to understand, what is our trend? Are we moving upward? Are we moving downward? And then average number of page views. So we need people to get deeper into our website, right? We killed the idea earlier of the brochure, right? We don't have an online brochure anymore. We need people to find the information that they're looking for. And that can't mean that everything's on our homepage. So we need to have our average page views increase. But it also doesn't mean that we need 100 clicks to find what you're looking for, because people don't put up with that anymore. And then other things like heat mapping and click mapping and mouse tracking. Like, thinking about where your mouse moves and being able to track that, that's where your eyes are going, right? Wherever your mouse is, your eyes are. And are your users, is their mouse going where you want it to, where it needs to go? Because if it's not, there's a mistake. Identify your target persona. So hopefully you did this before you ever started your build, right? You have to know who you're selling to. And for Hive, like, we have 6 different target personas that all have a different role. They're all prioritized, but we have to think about, who are we making each change for? And is it our most important persona? Because that's probably going to impact our perceived impact of the change. And then we're going to make hypotheses based on the individual personas, starting with our most important persona. I don't think there's a business out there that has one person they sell to. And we're not talking about a target market. Right? We're not saying, oh, we sell to women 35 to 50, because that's a target demo, right? That's not an actual person. That's not a target persona. And if you haven't built your target personas, that has to be where you start. And just so you know, we do have a free persona development worksheet on our website. I don't know how it's going to work with Longmont Startup Week and all that stuff, if we'll be able to provide links. I'm sure Morgan can address that. But we do have that free resource, at least to get you started. So how do we develop a hypothesis? And this is just a framework, right? This is how we do it, but it's not to say that this is exactly how it should be done every time, but you have to start with something. And so in this example, we're looking at, so for your target persona visiting a specific page, we believe that changing this specific website element into a whatever your change is going to be will result in X. And we believe this to be true because of previous data or research or previous experiment or whatever the case may be, whatever information you have that is fueling this hypothesis. So here's a real example. This is one we did for Hive. And so, like I had mentioned earlier, we work a lot in education. So universities, colleges, charter schools, e-learning, like lots of different education people. And so we do have an Education Emily persona. And so for Education Emily, visiting our homepage, we believe that changing the journey selection module, so it's the first thing you see when you come to our website, into a smart content module focused on student enrollment, because through our work in education and with these education clients, we understand that student enrollment is front of mind. Like that's their biggest pain point, because especially for universities and colleges and programs, enrollment is dropping, especially in the US, right? They're having a harder and harder time filling those seats. So they're really thinking about this. And so creating that smart content module focused on student enrollment, we believe that that will result in homepage to our inbound marketing page click-through to increase by 10%. And we believe this to be true because trials with other smart content modules for other industries that we work in have resulted in 8 to 20% increases in click-through. So that's an example of what your hypothesis should be or how it should be formatted. So let's recap a little bit. First, we have to lose the idea or the notion of the perfect website. It just doesn't exist. My website's not perfect. Apple's website's not perfect. Google's website's not perfect. Like there's no such thing. And so if you're hung up on building the perfect website, you're just putting yourself behind. We want to build our website based on data, not internal guesses, not internal preferences, not our gut. It needs to be built on data. And then we have to cut that launch cycle, right? Where we can't live with a 4 to 8 month development process anymore, because during that 4 to 8 months, we have no data. We can't make changes and improve our website for 4 to 8 months. We need to cut that down to 2. We need to gather as much data as possible to inform our decisions. And sure, there's a ton of data out there, and I think it's easy to get distracted or confused with data because since there is so much, not all of it's relevant, right? But focusing on that vital data can make a world of difference. And then we need to build everything for our target personas. We can't just build for the sake of building or because the CEO wants it this way. Like it has to be built for that specific person, that specific target persona that's going to do business with us, that we want to do business with. And then focus on high impact activities and parking lot the rest. There are so many things, so many little things, so many shiny things that can come up and distract you. But it's important to take a step back and figure out, okay, what's going to actually move the needle? What's going to have an impact on our users and our business by implementing today? And it's probably not to throw a new color up there. Make substantial changes to your website regularly. This is something that most businesses don't do at all, right? That's the traditional process. Is you build it, it's finished, and it lives up there for almost 3 years, and you don't really do anything with it. You just have a website, right? You have to make those changes, substantial changes, impactful changes, in order to convert and close more business. Test and retest every assumption and hypothesis. Just because you think it's going to work or because another business did it this way doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So keep testing, keep trying new things, and never get satisfied. It's still not perfect. I don't care if we're 10 years down the road, you've been doing growth-driven design for 10 years, your website traffic has skyrocketed, your leads are through the roof. It's still not perfect. It can still be better. So I think it's important to understand that it's never going to be perfect. And the work you do every single month can make a big difference. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hopefully you took a few things away from this. Again, I'm Dustin Brackett, the CEO and founder of Hive Digital Strategy and Buzz On Demand Marketing. And I think we probably have a few minutes for questions.
Yes, we do. Thank you. And also, I am a GIF lover, so this is a satisfying presentation.
I had a lot of fun building it, that's for sure.
I can imagine finding all the right pieces in place. All right. So for a website, F recently worked on mobile visits were about 80% of the total. Are there mobile-specific optimization tools you could recommend, since mobile tracking or heat mapping might be harder to accomplish on a mobile device?
So with that, like I said, we like to use Hotjar for heat mapping and all of those things. Mm-hmm. You can actually see through Hotjar where you're getting most of your traffic, right? And then you can also adjust and make those changes based on that heat tracking information for a specific device. So if you're getting 80% of your traffic, I think you said, on mobile, you can see what it looks like on mobile, and you can still see, okay, 20% of people are scrolling this far. And so you can still adjust that way. So you should be making those adjustments and those monthly changes based on the way people are using your website. So if that is mobile, you've got to think mobile first.
Nice. Yep. Any thoughts on load time as a design factor? So potentially there's favoritism from Google or other search engines for fast loading websites, and then also maybe any thoughts on image file types to help improve load times?
Yeah, for sure. Load time is a huge deal. And that has to be something that's considered basically for every website. Like if you have a slow loading website, you're going to lose. And like I think you had mentioned, they had talked about Google favoring those. And that's so true. It is a big deal. So your changes each month, that's still an incremental change that can be made. And that is something that you're doing for your user, right? They want a fast loading website. They don't want to sit around and wait for your website to load. Like it's not 1999 anymore.
What? I missed the memo. Since when did that happen?
Right.
All right. It looks like final question, at least from F. Are you noticing web design standards change as mobile interfaces become popular? And I suppose related to this is like, are there general trends in which design strategists like yourself have to think more critically about, as you said, mobile first, where you're actually designing the site first for mobile and then adapting it to a desktop environment? Is that an increasing trend as well?
For sure. And really, I think it does depend on your business, because even though like Google's actually come out and said that they have more searches every month done on a mobile device than on desktop now, which is a little bit crazy to think about, right? But for most industries, people are using their phones, right? I mean, like if anyone's like a Gary Vaynerchuk fan, like he's talked about like working exclusively off his phone. Like this is a major marketing kind of mogul, right? And he's using his phone, just his phone. And so we do have to make that change in most industries. Like if it's not applicable for your industry, then it's less of an issue. But for most industries, your website is probably getting more views or starting to get more views on mobile.
Awesome. All right, a question that had come up for me is I was listening through. You have quite the data attuned mind, so I'm in a similar boat. I certainly love looking and examining data, but sometimes that obviously can flow over people's heads, and that there's so much information that you might get from a tracking tool. So what tends to be like a simple recommendation for entrepreneurs or business owners who are testing a website for a new product or an existing business, like what are the main things they should really be paying attention to, especially if they don't have something like Hotjar, or if they haven't decided to pay for, more expensive tracking tools like that?
I think that, like I'd mentioned, Google Analytics is free. Like it's a tool that everyone should have. There's no reason not to have it on your website. It takes 2 minutes to set up. Like, it's easy, right? I think that one of the things that people get too caught up with, I guess, is single month numbers. You're looking at, like I said, we had 10,000 visitors this month. Like, that's great. Or is that not great? Like, that data is really hard to decipher if you're looking at it in a vacuum like that. So I would say utilizing your Google Analytics and looking at trends. Like, are you trending upward? Are you trending downward over the last 3, 6, 12 months? Not just how did we do in July 2020?
Right. That's great advice. Awesome. Well, Dustin, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us here at LSW 20. This is actually a very fortuitous session because next up tonight, in partnership with Innovate Longmont, there's some a marketing roundtable. They're basically reviewing websites live. So hopefully they either tuned in or they know a lot of stuff that you talked about, and they can provide that feedback. So we'll be back in just a few minutes with that session. But again, thank you, Dustin, so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure to have you here at LSW 20.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.